Alright, my name is Samuel Jackson. This will be my Project1 presentation. I'm going to submit this as part of comments when I submit the project and also attach it in my document. So let's get started. Alright, for this specific project we had our components on this side and we had the code. This all takes place in the app, or GUI if you want to call it. But my design view, I really set up so I had all my plots at the top because I wanted to collect all the user inputs in one location along with the Analyze button. And then the data will be at the bottom right. So first the user can get a general idea of what all the graphs are going to look like and then refer to the data for any specific points they need. Alright, next up, the button is pretty much where all the work happens. I'm even saying pretty much is an understatement. All the work does happen in the button. It was interesting that you could call back the user inputs straight to the button. That was a bit of a learning curve to get over, but after I got that and then was able to convert the fields in order to like numerator, denominator, min and max, then I was able to work with it. All right, the first challenge was creating the transfer function, as I said in the previous slide a little bit. Creating the transfer function required turning the string that the user would input, because the boxes where you took the numbers, you couldn't enter multiple numbers, it was just one number. So I could use that for, say, min and max, but I couldn't use that for numerator and denominator. So I utilized the command string to number, so the user could put in 1 space 2 space 3 or 1 comma 2 comma 3, and it would automatically convert that to my numerator and denominator, which I could then turn into a transfer function. The next major challenge was handling bad inputs, because the denominator couldn't be negative, nor could it be 0, and the min couldn't be less than 0, and the max couldn't be less than the min. All of these were inputs. I had to take into account that if the user put those in, it wouldn't just automatically close the program. So it took a bit of testing. It took probably 6 attempts of reiterating it to try and handle every bad event, so it would open a text box in the window instead of just full-on closing the program. But this was definitely a major hurdle when talking about this project. All right, next challenge, the bode function. Obviously, we couldn't do the bode function inside using regular terms like we would in MATLAB, so I had to create a separate function for it. This was definitely a challenge, but luckily I got a hint in class to refer back to lecture 6. There was an example we did on it, and I was able to change up this example to work with my numbers and just edit it a bit until I was finally able to get it to work. But this one was definitely a challenge. All right, after all of that's handled, we can pretty much go right into graphing. We have our 4 graphs, UI axis 1 through 3, or sorry, UI axis and then 2 through 4. And then they used basically the same method, but this part was probably the most simple part of the presentation. But just making sure it connects to the right graph, you need to have the app.uaxis2 in almost every command. And here's an example with the set numbers I have in there, just random numbers I put in to give the user an idea of what kind of numbers they should enter in the format. Yeah. Final thoughts, the code aspect of the app designer definitely took some getting used to, just with how you would call your inputs, like with the app dot whatever the box was called, and then dot value. That was probably the biggest hurdle, that you had to like specially call it in a different way, and there's just some intuitive things to figure out in this project, such as the string to number, the bode function plot, and being able to handle bad inputs. But overall, I was eventually able to handle this project. It took me probably about 6 to 8 hours of learning the program and just correcting scripts and getting thoughts. But yeah, thank you.